Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our music lovers out there? In today's episode, we'll be diving into the haunting music of horror. What is it about those first few notes from the theme of Halloween that pull you in? How does the music of a film help drive the story? To help us answer these questions and more is special guest Isaac Moneypenny. Isaac is the creator and owner of the social music app Mixtape. Welcome to the show, Isaac.
Thank you so much for having me. And just one caveat, it's not a music app because music apps screw over the musicians on royalties. I plug into the already existing music libraries and just basically turn the revenue for the artist on a social music platform so they can get that virality like Kate Bush that did the song for Stranger Things. Do you know that story?
Yep.
She had a song out for 37 years and got no money. And then a week after or the month after it appeared on Stranger Things, she got like $2.5 million. Like, how messed up is that? I digress. But yeah.
So, what exactly is social music? Like, can you define that for us a bit more?
Yeah, so social music is think about Instagram, but instead of sharing like pictures or reels or like little video things, you're really sharing playlists and your story behind the playlist. I noticed that both Ashley and John have made mixtapes, but they haven't grown the backbone. I'm going to say backbone because I'll wait for you guys to say have grown the balls. No, that's just how we roll. I can see faces on here, so I know this is not a video podcast. This is just an audio podcast. But they haven't grown the backbone to like really tell the story of why they chose those songs. And there's so many stories like Eli Roth or Sam Raimi and all these people that have these twisted brains. But what do they listen to when they're writing? And you're right, like the first notes in Halloween or in Saw or the Ring. Like what are they listening to that takes them down that pathway to make these beautiful masterpieces, like cinematic masterpieces? Because half of the magic of movie is the audio, whether it's spoken or musical. Now I'm going to get off my soapbox so you guys can talk.
So, first of all, I actually did tell a story on one of my playlists, or I'm sorry, mixtapes, but I deleted it because I lost my backbone. I'm like, I don't want people to be in my world. I don't want them to know what's going on with those song associations. So I did delete it after the fact. By the way, love that that's an option to record and delete.
But that's the thing is it really is. Once you start sharing and using other people's voices musically, then you kind of it's like those baby steps. It's like baby steps down the steps, baby steps on the bus, like from Bob or What About Bob?
What about Bob? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like you have to have those baby steps. And I actually worked on a paper with I'm name dropping now, if that's cool. But Dr. Brenda Allen, and she did this, worked on a paper called Voice Matters. And in the world today, if you don't use your voice, you lose it. But if you don't share your emotions, and I think that's why we have so many issues with like mental health, because people have really lost their voice. And if there's like a stepping stone or training wheels of sharing what you're feeling through music, then you can say, these are the songs I'm feeling today. And then like a month later or 2 months later, it's just like, these are the songs that I'm feeling this week because of A, B, and C. And you start sharing more. And I think that's that raw sharing that truly is missing in social platforms. And that's why that's you're really not connecting through social platforms anymore. And that's broken. That's wrong, in my opinion. But what do I know?
I think sometimes we just don't have the words or that ability to say, I'm not okay. And so by taking these songs that invoke that emotion or that energy that taps into that kind of space you're in that moment, even that is a big step to put all of those together and say, this is internally what I'm feeling right now in this moment. And that can be a lot for people, especially those that aren't able to be vulnerable, aren't able to say, I am hurting because my heart's been completely shattered. And these are the songs that I've chosen to correlate with that feeling inside. It's really hard to be able to say that, but to be able to put that together in a mixtape like we used to do back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, well, probably 80s, 90s. Uh,
No, you're at 2000s because
Yeah.
it was
I
mixed
mean, I was,
CDs.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, being able to
You
put
nailed
that
it.
and then you go back and reference those, and you know exactly what you were feeling in that moment. You may not remember exactly what was said to you, maybe, or what you precisely were going through in that moment. But by listening to that playlist, you remember what you were feeling, at least the person who created it. Now, the beautiful thing about art is that everybody perceives it differently. So, my combination of music, compositions of different songs and melodies may translate to someone completely differently, which has happened. I'll play a playlist and someone's just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, you really are feeling this way. And it's like, that's not what that meant to be at all. So everybody interprets art differently. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah.
They definitely do, and it's I loved well, I love all of yours, Ash, but and I call her Ash. So you guys just have to deal with it. It's Ash. She's not Ashley. She's
Absolutely.
Ash to me. Um, but John, on yours, I loved it how you had like Green Day and Snoop Dogg, and I'm like, what does one have to do with the
Yeah.
other except for one of them likes the green stuff? But that's what's
Yeah.
so awesome is everything is connected from music, from the creator to the consumer, and it's we don't have that in social platforms now. I think social media is kind of a bad word because it really is. It's creators shoving down whether you want to be a consumer or not, how that's forced down your emotional psyche, you don't have control. But with music, it's like one of my first concerts was Paul Simon and Ladysmith Black Mombasa, and that maybe aged me, but I remember I just was like a few rows down from George Lucas in LA, and I remember dun, 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 while Paul Simon's doing his thing in the front over there with his peeps up there. But I just remember I was singing the Star Wars theme because George Lucas was sitting down. And so whenever I think of Paul Simon, the first thing, it's not Paul Simon songs or like the Simon and Garfunkel, it's dun 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 dun, dun where there's no rhyme or reason to that except for to me. And so that's what I love um about mixtape. It really allows people to share what they're feeling, and it's in a coded language because it only means something to them. Um, and if people take it the wrong way, then at least it gets a conversation going and then allows people to communicate about, no, that's not what I meant. I actually was doing it because of this, this, and this. And it's just, I don't know.
That's great. I have a friend who's very much that way. Just specifically, just well, just send me random songs, no context whatsoever, and then I'd be like, so is this what you meant? It's almost like a guessing game, right? But I think having a mix is helps out, I guess, in that way, because it's not just one song; it's a variety, and that's kind of maybe the fun of it. I mean, you can obviously put something out there specifically. It's like, this is what I was doing, this is what I was feeling, but like, I guess for me, the thing I want to get on there when I get going with it is like the horror stuff. Like horror soundtracks for me has been a big thing. I mean, soundtracks in general has been a really big thing for me personally, and I think with horror, like there's just so many different songs that I just like. I'm in that mood. I'm in that mood of just, for example, like vampires or whatever. So, or lately it's been Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warrior. So, like Dawkins, right? Like just a lot of that kind of music, and it's just been kind of crazy. So, yeah, I
Well,
like it.
and that's what's I'm excited to see yours because I always get like there's a little bit of delay, but I get to see when someone's like starting to create one, and so like I get super excited because I don't see who's creating it, but I'm like, oh, someone's creating one. I'm excited to what it is, and so like when you're doing these, about with the horror soundtracks, like I'm gonna want like Psycho, and I want like the picture to be like a watermelon because then you can tell the story of the sound of the stabbing was, and with Alfred Hitchcock, the stabbing of the watermelon. That's how they got the sound because sound is everywhere. I mean, I don't know. I've got, if you can see my room, like I'm surrounded by art and it decorates my walls. But music is kind of like the art that decorates our time. And I'm gonna ramble off a bunch of cheesy cliches, but I don't know. I feel bad for Helen Keller. I can say that now because it's been enough years, but she wasn't able to hear anything. So it's like that's why she was so pissed about the water, in my opinion. Don't shake
I,
your head at
I
me,
love
but
Ashley's
you know
face.
I'm
That
right.
was just fantastic. That was so good.
No, it's just like no, she was ticked off and a brat because she couldn't hear. She didn't get that verbiage very carefully, the aural stimulation that a lot of people get.
There's so many places we can go on the things that you guys just said. So I'm going to go back a few steps.
Do it.
BJ, you mentioned how your friend would send you a playlist to see what you got from it. And what I miss and I loved was the concept of creating a mixtape as a love note to somebody, right? As a message to somebody, whatever that meant to you. And I say love note not like romantically, it could include that, but encompassing all different kinds of love. This is for my friend for that epic road trip we had, or for, the group or the family playlist of just songs of whatever. Like it could be anything, but it's capturing that emotion and giving it to someone as a gift, as a token of emotion that you really can't mimic in other ways, right? Like there is something that is evoked in just a quick moment, a few bars. We see that with Halloween, right? The themes, you just hear the first, like you don't even have to hear 3 seconds of it. It's like, boom, we all know Michael Myers, right? And the same with The Exorcist. You hear the bells and it's like, yep, know what that's from. Like these
Jaws.
yeah, like music is able to get you and create this huge picture in less than a few seconds for people that have been exposed to it and created a memory with it. For you, you had the memory at the concert with George Lucas there. So it's like, that's your memory, that's your association, and it's always going to be there for you. So I love that. And you listen to a lot of people nowadays that complain about the social platforms. What do they miss about MySpace? They miss the ability to integrate music in, because what did we used to be able to do? We could pick our song of the day or the moment and say, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is the headspace and emotional space I'm in right now with just a song. I don't have to do like they're doing on the Book of Faces where you choose like an emoji and it's just like, it literally says feeling and you get to choose from all these pictures. you can skip all of that and just put a song out, and people know or can kind of maybe start to associate with where you're at in that moment. So music is powerful, and I love that horror, out of all the genres, seems to utilize it the most. They tie it to their characters. Star Wars not included, in that comparison.
No, but they don't though. That's me who's the kind of the freak. But it really is. It really is horror. And so like one of my I was a tour manager for a band called New Year's Day, and another Ashley Costello
There
is
can
just
only be one. No, I'm just kidding.
Ash. That's why I said Ashley.
I'm kidding. I'm
She
kidding.
is like the horror queen, and she just rocks it when it comes to the horror side of things, because it really is. It's so theatrical, and someone's gonna die just when the music changes, where it's like you just feel that like, and it's just like, oh, something bad's gonna happen. Like it's like you know that something bad's gonna happen. And side note too, BJ, you can actually just send one song with the app. But what's
Oh.
cool about it is you can add a picture, the own picture. So it almost gives that pictorial like frame of reference and the song. So like you may have a little bit more of less of a guessing game. It's kind of like when your friend sends you just that one song. It's just like, oh, well, you sent me this song. It's Blue Suede Shoes by Elvis, but then you have a bloody knife. What are you trying to tell me here? It's like, it's just, but that's where it's just, yeah,
So
MySpace.
BJ, now we need to write a
there's
horror
yeah,
short with blue suede shoes and a killer scene.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, what came straight to my head was I love how, like what is it, L cut where you have music leading into the next scene, right? So in one of my favorite shows ever, Dexter, there was a scene where Dexter's has this guy on his table and he's killing him, right? He's getting, vengeance for this, all these murders or whatever this guy did. And the song that started playing was Eric Carmen, right? Like, and it led into, it was just such a weird song to be playing while he's killing somebody, and then it led into his sister Deborah singing the song like in front of her mirror, right? So it was like a really funny, like, just you like it because it's such a, I don't know, opposite maybe, right, of what you would think that would be playing. So I love when horror or any kind of genre just does that kind of thing, just kind of twists it and makes it a little weird.
But I think it really, I don't even know if I think it paints the full picture, because I've never done this. I've never like murdered anybody, but with music, there's so much emotion, and it takes you back. So it's like when you have that Dexter was, murdering someone, filleting someone, but he was being taken back to the memory of his sister, and how he's had probably great memories of his sister, and he's making good memories of getting rid of this horrible person. And so it's kind of a twist, and this isn't horror, but I think like Guardians of the Galaxy, even though uh, not so great of a company owns it, they do a great job with just music and all the different things, where it's just kind of like where you hear like the Fleetwood Mac at the very last scene of the second one, where you're just like, yeah, you're fighting this guy, and you kind of like are just so stoked on it, and it's just so powerful.
I do like what you guys were saying earlier about just how you can express the way you like just opinion or a way you were feeling or something toward to people without like actually writing it down, because obviously not everybody's award-winning writer or writing that can write poetry, that could write scripts, that can write anything, right? Some people are expressive with music, and being able to just choose, specific songs, and that's creating art in itself, right? And to do that with the pictures, I think that's super cool. And I don't know, like, I don't know, for me, like, that sounds like a really fun thing to do, and it also kind of, it's another way of expressing yourself that can also affect people in, I guess it's a new way, right? That's what this is. How long has this been going on? Your
So I launched the app in October, and so it's pretty new. And so like we actually do. So when you guys go down to, and this is a not a shameless plug. This is a happy plug where I'm involved with the Punk Rock Museum right around the corner from the the
Yeah.
Haunted
Zach
Museum.
Bacon's Haunted Museum.
Yeah, and so you'll have so with all of like the royalties and but like the Punk Rock Museum has like QR codes where you can actually scan and it opens the app and plays the playlists that go along with we've got like Joe Strummer's guitar, we've got his when he, when he died, he had a bag of weed in his pocket. And so we have his bag of weed in the museum, and we have Nirvana's Grammy when the Offspring were like blew up in the 90s. It was like the first punk band. It was like the punk wake up. We've got their 11-time platinum album in there. So it's just like everything from the 70s New York with Blondie stuff to the UK stuff with, but each of those things isn't just like visual things. There's music behind it. And I want, Taylor Swift to come through and like tell her stories of how punk music really touches everything. Like horror touches everything. Like Alfred Hitchcock, Edgar Allan Poe, those guys are geniuses because they were way before their time, but look how it's affected all of cinema. Like there's not anything even there's always a villain, and it's like how dark that villain is. It depends, but there's always that connection to the Edgar Allan Poe of the A Telltale Heart, or like the vampires and like everything. There's so many things, and I'm rambling on, and I I'll shut up because I will talk like nonstop because I am so passionate about so many things.
one thing, just to kind of add to what you're saying, I went to this. It was like a sound design presentation, and it was really cool, where they talked about specific films and all the different, sound effects and also music, and how that really adds to the suspense, right? So they would take out first, they would just take out everything, right? And then they'd play it. And then they would add like footsteps. And then they would add, other like Foley and all these other things. And then they would add the music. And then everybody's like, oh my God. Like, like obviously the biggest thing was like the music, right? Everything that was added was a piece, but that without the music, without the right music, it just doesn't have that effect. And it was great. Like, it was very eye opening. And been one reason why I'm a huge fan of John Carpenter's stuff, because he's obviously notorious for all of his films, and being the person who helps create all the music for those films, right? And so yeah, it's something that I, as a filmmaker, whenever I'm doing short films, that's like one of the most important things for me, is to find the right music that combines the theme and the tone and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Music can really make music's not just like on the front end either, like with the audience at the final product, right? There are a lot of writers that will listen to music as they write scenes, and they create the story that is going to be translated onto screen. So I know music can be a powerful tool even behind the scenes when you're listening to write. But also, I had been at an event and G. Tom Mack was talking about the Lost Boys, and they had a few of the actors that were doing kind of a Q&A session, and one of them said that they would actually play his song on set to get them into that vibe. So they'd play Cry Little Sister before they would film to keep them in that vibe, in that energy, and in that tone, driving the scenes. So not only is it driving the movie after the fact, but it's also helping them, evoke those emotions while they're filming. So that was really cool to learn.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it really is like psychological warfare. But with opposition in all things, it could be like a lift me up, and like there's a lot of like therapists and stuff that talk about, oh, we got to get you on the right vibrations. Your vibrations are off. We're gonna get some Reiki stones and fix your crystals and blah blah blah. And it's just like, no, just stop listening to crappy music. Find some good music that makes you happy. Like
Fix
that's
your
really what,
crystals.
I don't know. I don't know what they're called. It's like I don't know.
I don't think you could fix your crystals. I think your crystals are supposed to help you.
Well, crystal meth never did anything for me. So
It
just
explains a
kidding.
lot.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I've never used it. Gross. But no, but that's really what it is. Is like it really can be, and I don't have in the app. I don't have like messaging or like because there's some sick people in the world, and so I don't want there to be messaging. I want this to be just an uplifting app where people that don't share what they're going through have the ability to share, but still have that protection of, no, I was just feeling the Beatles' Cry Baby Cry. That's the song that I was feeling, even though I was an emotional wreck last night. But I don't want to say that. But I was crying last night for whatever reason. But then you can really still hide behind, but still have a little bit of a voice, even if it's just a whisper at first. And then when you're in that safe space, go and grow.
I think that would be a really cool thing, not just for yourself, but it could be a thing that something that John, as a paranormal investigator, might know is that when you go to places and you play music for said haunted place, that you get different effects, right? So different music affects different things in different ways, right? And if it's a haunted place, maybe you can make a mixtape on that, on like what, well, this house, this is the mixtape that channeled the most energy out of this haunted location, and then maybe that brings up different questions and things, right, with the history. So I can see this going somewhere in that realm, and I think that would be super cool, because I had just talked on a podcast about that not too long ago, about how music, while you're doing an investigation, can lead to all kinds of different things, right? Like if if you play Taylor Swift or something, and then somebody starts shouting the what is it called? What are those box like John? What are those, the tool for the
Oh,
voice,
the spirit
The
box,
spirit
yeah.
the
boxes?
spirit boxes? Yeah. So you're getting all these different messages out of those spirit boxes depending on what you're playing, right?
If you're playing Taylor Swift, it's going to be like, turn it off, turn it off, stop playing this.
Or they love it. You never know, right? That's the fun of it, and I think that would be pretty
and,
cool.
and really you can do the A/B testing, or like they did with like plants, where they played like metal and it killed the plant, and then they played classical and it made the plants grow. But then they did the same thing with like mushrooms, and not psychedelic ones, but they just did it with different things and different music, since this is not just plants, but it's living people, or people that were living that are haunted, or they're attached to this physical realm. What do they dig? What are they missing? Like, what did they love? And it's that'd be like super rad to like almost do like, okay, I'm gonna do a country, uh, a rap, a rock, and then a classical mixtape, to see which one gets the spirit box moving and which one gets it talking to me, or even have it just be like one mixtape with all of those songs on it. And what's great about the app is it's, again, plugging out the app, it's free, so you can actually have the 5 songs, but you can actually just play the 30-second preview without having a music subscription. and you can see which one gets the most feedback from the entity or entities that you're visiting. And so I love that, BJ, because that really is it crosses to like, I don't know, any spirit that could be on social media. No ghost has ever liked any of my pictures.
That you know of.
But what if you go to the Hotel del Coronado and you play like the 30-second previews of five different songs and you get real feedback on one, then that's a story. And that's a that's not like a lifelong story. That's like an eternal story to another realm. And so many cool things.
I think it helps you identify maybe the spirits that you're kind of interacting with to an extent too, because you may think you know, oh, this is old John Boy's from 1939's room, but then your spirit that might be reacting to your music is actually really digging Snoop Dogg. Maybe we're not tapping into old John Boy, or maybe we are. I don't know, but it definitely gives your interaction and your spirit that you're I guess interacting with, for lack of a better word, gives them a bit more personality, right? It rounds them out a bit more because you really don't know. You get a spirit box voice cycling through and you hear little random things like "get out, John, number 2." There's nothing really personality wise except for grouchy maybe that you get from that, but by associating music, we're now putting an energy and emotion to it that we didn't have before.
Maybe this John Boy is grouchy because they've never heard punk rock music, or they've never heard um gin and juice. I mean, there's so many things that I'm no, like, but that's what they're missing in their life. And you come to visit them to bring them the gift of music instead of just electrostatic and are you here? Are you angry? And it's just
Right.
like,
It's just asking questions, and it's like it's annoying maybe for them. It's like I don't want to answer questions. I just want to chill and listen to music, and thank you for bringing me something that wasn't here before. And the other thing that Ashley was saying that I thought was also cool, that you could also leave it to interpretation. Like if you can just post it all, right? You can just put all the songs on there and put the results on there, and then people who weren't at who weren't there can be like they have an outside perspective, and maybe they're like, oh well, maybe this entity actually didn't like it, and they're like, well, we thought that they did, but maybe as they went through this listening to it, they're like, oh no, because of their perspective is so much different from ours, maybe they have a unique insight to it that just it's like just adds to it, and it's like it's something that maybe we haven't even thought of, which again maybe they have a tie to that particular music that we wouldn't have otherwise, which is kind of cool.
or maybe it calls if they want to argue with you. And it's just like, no, they didn't like that song. And I'm going to prove to you. And then they go and then they get a different experience. And then it really, it, it builds a community with the tie of whatever song it is. But then you have all these different visitors going, having these different experiences and leaving with different thought processes and different memories. And those are the things that, I mean, whatever happens after this life, I think we take our conquests, our mistakes, and our memories. That's the only thing we really take after you're 6 feet under or burnt to an ash. But it's name dropped you. Um, but it
Anybody that
really
wants
is.
to be burnt in my name.
Yeah, I want to be burnt and snorted up by like my enemies. That's going to be in my will. I want to be burnt up, and then I want the people that I hated have to snort me.
That
And
just reminds me of that cryptid, the cocaine alligator or cocaine crocodile.
yeah, yeah,
Like pulverizes its enemy into a pulp and then snorts it off.
yep. That's what I want to be. I want to be that guy.
Okay.
That's
And then I'm
amazing.
gonna leave in my will that until like my estate, whatever it's gonna be, even if it's just a couple guitars, my estate doesn't get sent on to like my loved ones. until all my ashes are gone, kind of thing. And so it's like that's how you keep on keeping on.
I think there is a personal responsibility, and I think you've kind of hinted at that. But especially when it comes to mental health, music can definitely help us heal, but it can also drive us. I don't want to say drive us like it's the agent. We can also use it to kind of help us keep in a space that maybe isn't healthy. And by matching the energy of songs that we're putting into our system, we may perpetuate kind of those lower moments into long-term kind of angst. And so there is a, I don't want to say a danger, but there is an awareness that we want to have when we are subjecting ourselves to different media, whether it be music or movies or television, making sure that what we're doing isn't necessarily, or what we're consuming isn't necessarily keeping us in a space that isn't healthy for us. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, because it really does. If I'm following you right, it falls along with the self harm,
Hmm.
and it really is. If you're alone and you only listen to, I'm trying to think of some dark, like Ramstein or something like that, like just dark, hateful music, or like when Eminem was doing things that were really really dark and like abusive. But with the app, if you're connected with other people that are like posting mixtapes of sunshines and buttercups, and maybe you wouldn't be caught dead having that on your phone on a playlist. But then when you hear it, you're like, that makes me smirk, that makes me smile, that makes me happy. Like, and it's all those things where it gives you that opportunity to step outside yourself, where on the radio, if you listen to the radio, you only hear the same 8 songs all day. But this makes it so it really is a creator economy where everybody is sharing what makes them feel good.
And I like what you guys were saying about like being having the mental health stuff, right? So like if you are feeling in a certain way, if you're feeling down on yourself and all these things, or down on the world or whatever, you can express these emotions through your music, through this mixtape, and maybe somebody will chime in and create that community and be like, hey, it sounds like you might be going through something. This is my mixtape when I was going through something. It may not be the same thing, but you may find something that you like in here, and I hope it helps you, right? It could be a way to support somebody in that way, which is also kind of cool.
100%. I watched a reel, um, and it was Mark Hoppus from Blink when he was going through cancer, and it was they didn't know if he was going to live, and there was all these people sending him text messages, praying for you, thinking about you, sending you positive vibes, but it's just he felt so alone. And then when his cancer was in recession, it didn't hit him till someone held up a sign at a show that talked about, now I'm going to sound like an idiot, but one of the songs, I'll look it up later, but about when he was feeling suicidal, and someone held up a sign that said, this is the song that saved me in my darkest times. Now, what if we had this be as a social aspect, and I'm going down kind of a sappy place, but what if we have a global community of people helping people, like a total utopian society where people are sharing music, where someone can post something that is, I'm feeling so horrible, and then just getting that support system of, these are the songs that I listened to when I was going through some tough times. This is what I listened to over and over and over when I was going through a divorce, when I found out my significant other was cheating on me, when I was going through an abusive relate, like so many things. I mean, the world is just full of horror, like literally, we're a living horror globe. But what if the music is what makes it so it's a good ending? Just like what you said, BJ, before, it wasn't until the music came in that it made it real, that it made it whole. And so maybe that's what the world is needing is, that community outreach and connection and connectivity and that labor of love. Because I mean, what's the worst thing that you can do? If someone breaks your heart and you make a mixtape about how horrible that person was for breaking their heart, it's still just like, oh, they made me a mixtape. I mean, I mean that's still, they took the time and effort to do something, and then it builds on the community. Oh, I just went through a bad breakup, and these are the songs that I listen to. These are the I hate girls songs. Oh, don't forget this one. I hate girls on this one, and it really can it can build a community that we have the technology to do it, but we're not. And like with mental health, it's like music. We were put in an ad because some doctor like reached out to me that said the vibrational therapy just wasn't the thing, and they said that it was music that was helping like the veterans and the connection around that. But how do we make this on a mass level? Because like the percentage is high. It's like 87%, 86% of people won't even ask for help because they already feel like a piece of trash. So what if it's just there available to them, and they can do it when they're feeling at their lowest or their highest, and it's always there, kind of thing. Just the technology of podcasts or Zooms where you didn't have to go to meetings anymore. It's you could do everything alone, but instead of doing it alone, you're really connecting with a stranger and making your new best friend that dug you out of that funk.
I think there's one thing I wanted to get into. We were talking about the world and how music is so important and all of these things, and I keep thinking about like Carl Sagan and just how they sent, the music out into space, right? They sent the disc out there and they're like, here's all these different songs that we want to, whenever we make contact with UFOs or aliens, this is the kind of stuff that we want them to know about us, right? And it's interesting to me that obviously mathematics is one of the things that's on there, but music is also one of the big things that's on there. And I think when we talk about, you know, entities, but also like, UFOs and all of that, my big question is that, not just your app, but like just music in general, like, is it something that continues on? Like, do you think that it is something that, humanity may not make it, but music will, right? It's kind of one of those things like if the species that survive, that get past the wars, that can get past killing themselves, is music one of the most powerful things left? I mean, obviously you have mathematics and science and all those sorts of things, but vibration and that kind of thing, is that something that continues on and is more of an effect on society than even it is for us?
Yeah, because it goes outside of just the human species. There are other species out there that have their own versions of songs. Like there are primates out there that have family songs. They each carry their own song, and it's slightly different than another, group of them. And so we aren't the only ones that make music. It's just we understand our own music.
And you said primates. Let's go way outside of our own thing, like penguins,
Crickets?
like crickets, like it's just like whenever I talk to anybody, I hear crickets because it's just like, oh, I'm getting no response here.
That's how I
I'm
feel when
getting,
I text you.
oh, you shut your mouth. You shut it.
He's not sending you a
Um,
text back, he's sending you songs.
No, he doesn't do that either. It's crickets and ghosts.
hey, you stop it. I'm,
I like the
you got,
hey emphasis. You stop it.
I have nothing. I am the worst. I try to be textually active, but it's just I
That's
struggle.
really active.
So with the Sagan stuff, I love it how they focused on music and images, but even in space, UFOs, entities, it's all frequencies. And the only thing music is frequencies that we figured out how to line up properly.
Right, to give us
It's still
different
it's still
response.
chaos.
Yeah, it's different emotional responses and all of that. And my question is not just talking and Ashley, I'm glad you brought that up with the different animals. What about cryptids? You going into the woods playing Tupac, is Bigfoot gonna like
See
that
what
or what?
Bigfoot likes. What is Chupacabra into? Ice Nine Kills.
Selena.
Selena.
No, but Bigfoot, they communicate. The cryptids, they communicate and with the whoops. And
Whoop, there it is.
yeah, and so and then
Play
they
Who Let the Dogs Out.
who?
Who,
Who?
who,
Yeah,
who?
right. And so and that's really what it is, and so it's like with the cryptids, and we have, like, the skunk man in Florida, and, like, I it really is, and you in Tibet, you hear the monks never get attacked by the Yetis because maybe they have this protective chant, and it shows that there's the friendship and there's the connection, and so yeah. And you know what's so great about um, this too is when you're talking about even different species and stuff. Like, if anybody's religious, I'm not, but there's different languages globally. But I've been on tour in Japan where they didn't speak a word of English, but they knew every single song and they sang along. And then after, like, when we did the meet and greet, it wasn't so nice to meet you. It was
Tomo Arigato.
like like bowing. But it was so cool because it's it really is that translatory and making up words again. Um,
I do it all the time. Now, speaking of viral, you know, that goes hand in hand with mental health. We know lots of studies are being done right now about social media, social platforms, and how that actually hurts mental health because now the validation is external and we're driven by those hits of likes, loves, comments, so forth. And so the mental health is taking a hit in that realm because of that. So, how do you navigate that with the social music?
I do not count plays. Like, so, like, you will never know how many plays or how many people listen to your mixtape on the back end through Apple Music and stuff like that. That gets counted, so the artists are paid royalty wise. But I even have it so it's not just a heart. It's like you can either do like the heart. There's
The
like the rock on.
fire, the
There's
money.
the rock, like this one's on fire. This mix is on fire, and this one's money. There's a dollar sign. So it's like it doesn't count those types of things. It just shows, like, I see, like, on Ash's and John's mixtape, I've put like yours was on fire or on money, and it shows that I have the dollar sign, not the heart. And so those are the types of things where it's not counted, so you're not a number. And so it's just, I mean, you're gonna get comments and stuff like that, and if people are gonna, but again, that's allowing the outside world dictate your happiness. But if you're able to find your voice through sharing a Beatles song or a Led Zeppelin song or one of my favorite bands, No Effects, or like Strung Out, like a band like that, then I'm speaking my voice. It really levels the playing field. So it doesn't matter what you look like. It's not like people were just like, oh, what about videos and making selfies and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I imported a bunch of artists and different images in there. So it isn't about pictures. You can add a picture, otherwise, it will just auto populate a picture that's in our mixtape gallery. Because what it's about is just sharing the songs that speak to you.
So, speaking of songs that speak to you, that talk to you, out of all the horror movies, because this is one of those kind of podcasts that are out there, which one, and this is a question for everybody, which movie has the most lasting, memorable songs for you? Like that you're just like, I love it. That's my song. That's my
Can I
movie.
can I go first?
Sure.
It immediately popped in my head, just because this other paranormal investigator I know just went to this place where he posted pictures about it, and I was like, oh my god, that looks right out of Stand By Me. And for me, Stand By Me, the movie, the soundtrack, like everything about the songs in that, like I just adore, just because there's so much different feelings that you get from that film. There is so much just good and bad and everything, right? And at the for the time that it was, taking place, and the relationships that these boys had, and the danger, the fun, like all of it. I think that was something that um yeah, that said did it for me. It felt perfect in that way for me. There wasn't a song that I was like, this doesn't fit here at all. Like it just felt right.
What about for horror?
Is that not a horror? I mean, it's not really a
I
horror.
think no, I think that's like adventure, Phil.
I mean, it's
I agree with everything you said, but what about in the horror genre?
Stephen King. I guess it's not. Okay, it's not a horror. You're right.
For me, like it's not even like I can't even think of any of the songs like by title, but like The Shining, that has a rad soundtrack. But then I think, does Aliens count as a horror? I mean, that's like a Alien.
I
Alien.
think
I
all
think
of them
does.
do to me.
Yeah.
But then there was like that one with like even like Wicker Man. Was that is that considered horror?
It's in the horror category on demand.
So all those, I think they have like some really cool scores.
I have one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Killer Clowns.
I love the music from that. I think it's so great. It mixes perfectly with the vibe, just the clowns, everything over the top. It's so great. I think it's fun, and yeah, for me that's one of my favorites. I don't want to take Ashley's because I think I know one of hers, and I don't want to bring it up because I think she will. So we'll let
The
her.
Lost Boys. Is it The Lost Boys?
It's either that or there's one that
Attack
starts
the
with an
Killer
H
Tomatoes.
and it ends with razor.
Hellraiser. So yes, I would actually say for me, I have a top 3 when it comes to music, and The Lost Boys is always gonna be in that top. Like, that's just how can you not? Every single song, and even just you know, the song compositions outside of the soundtrack are just amazing. Uh, that song or that movie is the music. Like, could you imagine The Lost Boys with any other music? It just doesn't go. But also Candyman. I think
Mm.
that there are some really amazing instrumentals and melodies they create, like Helen's song. And yeah, that one is also one that I can just hear just a do 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 do, and it's like, where is
Yes.
he? It's sexy, it's haunting, it's terrifying, and I'm here for it. You guys know me, horror and sexy, like yes, that like will win me over every single time.
God, I can't believe I forgot about Candyman. That is one of the best. That I completely agree with you. That one, and it's creepy. Like it's so crazy. Like it is sexy, but it's in the scariest way. Like just thinking about it, it's like just the visuals as well. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you talked about earlier, like, the juxtaposition between something, like, super happy-go-lucky and then murder, but it's the same thing when you pull in, like, horror and sex, eroticism, and you put those 2 together, it's like, "God, that's terrifying, but exciting. What's wrong with me?" It's great. It's great when they can actually evoke those things in a song, so
But you know what that is? That's the vulnerability that everybody's scared of. And I think that's why horror does so well, because it's like the murderer and the murderee are both so vulnerable.
I love when that horror movies can absolutely capture a moment and put a sound association to it. End of the last place. What happens? Grandpa delivers his epic line, right? All the damn vampires. And every single person in a fan watching will go dun 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 dun. Like, like they know the song is coming before even it happens. And same with, you got the saxophone player. He was supposed to be just a minor part of the film. They didn't know he was going to blow up into this epic, iconic image and the song, right? You hear the saxophone and automatically you see oiled up, hip thrust and shaken saxophone player. Like it's awesome. I love it. I love that horror can do that.
Well, and that's the same thing. Like even like with like the P-rated ones, like Salem's Lot, because horror is like, even though they're so popular right now and have been, it kind of I'm not like a horror buff like the three of you, but it's like, do you feel like you're robbed of your, like, you've been true fans your whole life, and it's just like now it's not like a cult following. It's just like, you're a poser. You didn't like it when I like it. I liked it first, kind of thing.
No, I
Or do you
feel like
feel like
now you
accepted?
understand me. Now you get it.
Yeah. And there's just you're excited. I think for my thing is like, oh God, I'm excited to show you this film. I'm excited to expose you to something that I think is amazing, and then you're open to it, right? Which I think more people are now more than ever. So yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's hot if someone wants to watch a scary movie with me and not to Netflix and chill, but to like actually watch it with me. And so that's not something back in the day when we were all younger, right? You're like in high school and it wasn't as big. And people were just like, what's wrong with you? Why are you into horror? So you some kind of freak. And now it's just like, oh man, have you heard of this film? And it always cracks me up when, people are like, have you watched The Shining? I try so hard not to laugh. Like, could you give me a harder one?
I watch it in the bubble bath when I'm eating popcorn. Thank you very much.
Your
No, but
red
that's
rum bubble bath.
yeah. So like, and that's like the thing is, like, I remember watching scary movies where it's like Destination Horizon, where it's outer space, but that was like a messed up movie, but it was good. And
Event
like there,
Horizon, yeah.
Event Horizon, yeah, Event Horizon, where it was just kind of like, oh, this is like demonic. This is like sci-fi horror demon, and it's just, there's just so much crossover, and it's like I just learned what Netflix and chill meant not too long ago.
Did
Yeah,
someone ask you to Netflix and chill?
no, I just said, what the hell? What is that? Like, what is Netflix and chill?
My favorite
But
meme is a horror meme where they say horror fans love Netflix and kill. And
no, but that's like with the Netflix and chill. It's just like, that's like with like Stranger Things. That's like binge Netflix and chill, like where you do that with, and scary. Like, I remember when, laugh all you want, but like when The Ring came out, like, and the scariest part of that whole movie was how big those horses' eyes looked and how scary they were when they jumped off that boat. And I'm just like, I hate horses. They scare me to death. But that movie was all, I don't think there's any part in the movie that doesn't have an underlying musical tone. I think there's music throughout the whole thing. Even if it's just like wind with But it was just kind of like, and that's like, I was just like, wow, this is revolutionary where it's just so cool.
All good horror relies on that, using the music, even if it's just a subtle undertone to build that tension and that fear.
Yeah. And it's so cool.
Um, Mine is Twilight.
What the fuck
I'm
did you
kidding.
just
I just
say?
wanted that response. Mine is Saw. I love the score, especially towards the end when they reveal all the killers and stuff, and you get that music. It just starts pumping me up for some reason. It's just like, yes, let's go. I love it.
I thought you were gonna say Scream, just because
Me
obviously
too.
I
it's
mean,
like your favorite. Like
the
it's great
the
though.
It
original
Like
has a
that
good
music
soundtrack
in
was
soundtrack.
that.
good. The Scream 2
Yeah.
soundtrack was better. They sucked with 3. 5 was okay, and yeah, 6 was ish. But yeah,
Ish, ish.
ish.
But Saw was powerful because it wasn't songs.
Yeah, it was just the
Yeah.
score.
It was it was the
Yeah.
score. And like even like I cannot like I'm not even like a huge Saw fan, but whenever I see someone riding a bike, that's the first like the sound, that's the first memory it evokes and invokes in me. It's just kind of like, but that's what the power of music and scores. It's powerful. It really is powerful.
Okay, so Isaac, where can people find this amazing app?
So they can go to just Mixtape Social Music. There's so many mixtape apps, or just go to sharemixtape.com and find me and follow me. So, and I want 3Haunted to have a mixtape account too.
Oh, God.
So we can hear like, I want to hear when you go on site to these paranormal visits and hear the story, because then you can comment and say, this one was a bust. This one was, we got a reaction off of this song. And so just like, I just love the story. I miss behind the music.
Yeah.
And so everybody's just like, everybody, because I'm looking at everybody on a video, podcast listeners, and everybody nodded like, oh yeah, I remember that, because it was the stories behind the music brought life to them. And let's bring life to these people that have passed on to the next world.
Yeah, I'm ready to do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And if nothing, even if nothing happens, maybe we just all have this strange vibe to listen to whatever artist. And I think that would
Right.
be cool too.
Just remember, you're going to be vibrating to whatever music you're playing. So be careful of what's on your playlist when you go into those haunted
True.
places.
True.
Very true.
Probably not any
No.
Rammstein. Rammstein.
Sting.
I will.
Sting.
I will say that
Rammstein.
earlier.
Probably not
No,
any death metal.
earlier I didn't get to comment on when BJ had brought up the whole thing with the paranormal investigating stuff. I do have like a playlist that I do play like when I'm driving to some of these places that I listen to. It's almost my Halloween mix that I play for Halloween as well, but like has more weird shit in it. But yeah, it's stuff that gets me pumped up for an investigation, so it's kind of cool.
All right, guys, do we have any final thoughts before we wrap this episode up? It's been amazing.
Yeah, no, it was fun to get to know you, and it's got given me a lot of ideas to in ways to use your app, and I'm excited to do the haunted stuff with it. So I think that'll be fun. I'll be curious to, and also maybe for me personally, it'll be something that I use because we didn't really get into it, but dreaming, right? Like hearing music in your dreams. And I think that would be something cool that I could just start putting, because I do keep a dream journal. So I think that'd be something for me to start putting out there. Like these are the songs I'm hearing in my dreams, and then just to see what people think. So I think that's another cool aspect of it.
What about you, John Thomas? Any last thoughts?
No, I just agree with everything. Music connects, and like when I was younger, when I would write short stories and stuff, I would listen to music as I wrote, and have those songs in mind if I ever got to make it into like a movie or something like that. And let me tell you, it did get expensive. I'll say that. I know it was got expensive because there was a lot of a lot of expensive songs in there. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Isaac?
No, just thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this family. It's really been in the most non-cheesy, real way. It's for talking about horror films. It's been a beautiful experience, and I just truly humbly appreciate you having me on. It's been an absolute blast.
We appreciate you coming on. And, we hope that you're open to coming back on again in the future. And, busy schedule with Standy. I know you're very in demand, but so happy that you were able to come on. All right, John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you again, Isaac, for coming on. It's been an absolute blast, and I enjoy using the app. It's fun. Look forward to more of my weirdness, for sure. And thank you to everybody for listening to this episode of 300 Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 300podcast at gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Mr. Isaac here.
And if you're looking for merch, visit us at 3hauntedpodcast.com, where you'll find more information about our guests, our merch, and upcoming episodes. Until next time.